There's a rare kind of strength in people who feel deeply, yet choose silence over display. In a world obsessed with visibility, mature empaths move differently. They don't need validation, applause, or constant attention. Their power lies in what they don't show. Mature empaths understand that energy is a limited resource, and once it is drained, it takes time, solitude, and intention to restore. They are highly aware of how easily their emotional state can be influenced by the environment they step into, including digital spaces. Social media, while entertaining and sometimes inspiring, is also a place filled with comparison, hidden negativity, and unspoken pressure to perform. Every post, every scroll, every interaction carries emotional weight, and mature empaths feel that weight more intensely than most. That's why they don't treat their presence online casually. They don't post just to stay relevant or visible. They pause, they think, and often they choose silence. They have learned through experience that not everyone who watches them supports them. Not every like is genuine, and not every comment is harmless. There are people who project insecurities, jealousy, and judgment without ever revealing their true intentions. Mature empaths pick up on these subtle energies. They can sense when something feels off, even if it looks normal on the surface. Instead of exposing themselves to that unnecessary emotional exchange, they step back. They protect their peace like something sacred, because to them it is. They also understand that constantly sharing your life invites opinions that don't align with your truth. The more visible you become, the more people feel entitled to analyze, criticize, or misunderstand you. Mature empaths don't feel the need to explain themselves to an audience that doesn't truly know them. They would rather be deeply understood by a few than superficially known by many. Privacy becomes a form of self-respect. It allows them to thrive without external noise interfering with their process. There is also a deep level of discipline in their restraint. It's not that they don't have moments worth sharing or achievements worth celebrating. It's that they don't rely on external reactions to validate those moments. They can experience joy without announcing it. They can go through struggles without documenting it. Their life is lived inwardly first, not outwardly for display. This keeps their sense of identity grounded and protected from the ever-changing opinions of others. They are intentional with what they allow into their mental and emotional space. While others may scroll endlessly, absorbing everything they see, mature empaths limit their exposure. They understand that what they consume affects how they feel, think, and act. Protecting their energy isn't just about what they share, but also about what they choose to engage with. They curate their environment carefully, even if that means taken away completely. In choosing not to constantly show themselves, they are not hiding, they are preserving. They are maintaining a level of inner clarity that cannot be achieved when your attention is constantly divided. Their silence is a boundary, their absence is a decision, and their peace is the result of choosing depth over display, substance over attention, and self-preservation over external validation. They observe the world with a level of awareness that most people never reach. They are not distracted by the constant need to be seen or heard. Mature empaths don't rush to react, comment, or post their opinions the moment something happens. Instead, they take a step back and absorb what is really going on beneath the surface. They notice tone, patterns, inconsistencies, and emotions that others overlook. Where most people see words, they feel intention. Where most people see actions, they sense motivation. This depth of perception naturally makes them quieter, not because they have nothing to say, but because they understand that not everything needs to be said immediately or publicly. They are comfortable sitting in silence and letting situations reveal themselves over time. In a world driven by instant reactions and quick judgments, this patience sets them apart. They know that truth often unfolds slowly, and reacting too quickly can lead to misunderstanding. That's why they prefer to watch how people behave consistently rather than believing what they present in a single moment. Social media, in particular, often shows curated versions of reality, and mature empaths are highly aware of this. They can sense when something feels forced, exaggerated, or inauthentic, even if it looks perfect on the surface. Because of this awareness, they don't feel the urge to compete for attention or prove their perspective. They know that speaking without full understanding can add to the noise rather than bring clarity. Their silence becomes a form of intelligence. It allows them to process emotions fully, think critically, and respond with intention rather than impulse. When they do choose to speak, their words carry more weight because they are not driven by the need for validation or reaction, but by truth and clarity. They also recognize that constantly expressing everything can dilute meaning. When someone shares every thought, every feeling, and every reaction, it loses depth over time. Mature empaths value depth. They believe that some thoughts need to be explored internally before they are shared externally. This internal processing helps them understand not only others, but also themselves on a much deeper level. It strengthens their emotional intelligence and allows them to respond in ways that are thoughtful rather than reactive. Their ability to observe also protects them from unnecessary conflict. By watching and understanding before engaging, they can avoid situations that would otherwise drain their energy. They can see patterns in behavior that warn them when to step back, when to stay silent, and when to walk away completely. This awareness acts like a filter, helping them navigate relationships and environments more wisely. They don't feel the need to constantly insert themselves into conversations or trends just to stay relevant. They are not afraid of being overlooked because they are secure in their understanding of themselves and the world around them. Their focus is not on being noticed, but on being. Tema. Awareness, they gain a level of insight that most people miss, allowing them to move through life with quiet confidence and a deep understanding of both human nature and emotional truth. They reach a point where their sense of worth is no longer tied to how others respond to them, and this shift changes everything about how they move through the world. Mature empaths understand how easy it is to become dependent on external validation, especially in spaces where attention is constantly rewarded. Likes, comments, and views can quickly turn into a measure of identity if someone isn't careful. But empaths who have grown through experience begin to see the pattern. They realize how temporary and unreliable that validation truly is. What feels like approval one moment can disappear the next, and basing yourself on something so unstable only leads to emotional exhaustion. Instead of chasing that cycle, they turn inward. They begin to build a relationship with themselves that is not influenced by outside noise. They take time to understand their own emotions, their triggers, their strengths, and their flaws. This level of self-awareness doesn't happen overnight. It comes from reflection, from difficult experiences, and from choosing growth over comfort. Over time, they learn to validate their own feelings without needing someone else to confirm them. They don't need constant reassurance because they trust their own inner voice. They also recognize that not everyone will understand them, and they make peace with that. Mature empaths often feel deeply and think differently, which can make them stand out in ways that others might misinterpret. In the past, they may have tried to explain themselves or seek acceptance from people who were never truly willing to understand. But with growth comes clarity. They stop trying to fit into spaces that require them to shrink or change who they are. Instead, they accept that being misunderstood by some people is a natural part of being authentic. This independence from validation gives them a quiet kind of confidence. It's not loud or attention-seeking. It doesn't need to be displayed. It shows in how they carry themselves, in how they make decisions, and in how they handle both praise and criticism. Compliments don't inflate their ego, and negativity doesn't break them, because neither defines them. They are grounded in a deeper understanding of who they are beyond external opinions. They also become more intentional with the feedback they choose to accept. Just because someone has an opinion doesn't mean it deserves space in their mind. Mature empaths learn to filter what they take in, recognizing that people often speak from their own insecurities, experiences, and limitations. This awareness protects them from internalizing negativity that doesn't belong to them. It allows them to stay centered even in environments where judgment is common. Their self-worth is built on consistency, not performance. It comes from showing up for themselves, from honoring their values, and from maintaining integrity even when no one is watching. They don't need an audience to feel valuable because their sense of value is self-created. This makes them resilient, steady, and less reactive to the ups and downs of external feedback. By no longer depending on validation, they free themselves from the pressure to constantly prove something. They can exist as they are, without explanation or justification. And in that freedom, they find a deeper level of peace that cannot be taken away by the opinions or attention of others. They understand that true influence doesn't need an audience to be real. Mature empaths don't measure their impact by how many people see them, but by how deeply they affect the lives they touch. While others may focus on visibility, they focus on presence. When they are with someone, they are fully there, listening, understanding, and responding in a way that makes the other person feel genuinely seen. This kind of attention is rare, and it leaves a lasting impression that no online interaction can replicate. They don't need to broadcast their kindness for it to matter. In fact, much of what they do goes unnoticed by the world, but it means everything to the people who experience it. A quiet conversation, a moment of patience, a small act of support during someone's difficult time. These are the ways they create impact. They show up when it's inconvenient, they care when it's not required, and they give without expecting recognition. Their actions are not driven by image. They are driven by empathy that feels natural and instinctive. Because they move in silence, people often underestimate them. They may not appear powerful in the traditional sense, but their strength lies in emotional depth and consistency. They build trust over time, not through words, but through actions that align with their values. When they say something, they say it. Taoists wait because they don't speak just to fill space. Their words are measured, intentional, and often exactly what someone needs to hear in that moment. They also understand that real connection happens away from the spotlight. Social media can create the illusion of closeness, but mature empaths prioritize genuine relationships that exist beyond screens. They invest their time and energy into people who matter, nurturing bonds that are built on trust, honesty, and mutual understanding. These relationships may not be visible to others, but they are strong, meaningful, and deeply fulfilling. Their ability to impact others is closely tied to their emotional intelligence. They can sense when someone is struggling, even if that person hasn't said a word. They notice subtle shifts in energy, tone, and behavior, and they respond with care rather than judgment. This makes people feel safe around them, creating a space where others can open up without fear of being misunderstood. That sense of safety is powerful, and it's something that cannot be faked or replicated for attention. They don't chase influence, it happens naturally as a result of who they are. People remember how they made them feel, long after the moment has passed. Their presence lingers in a way that is quiet but undeniable. Even without a public platform, they shape perspectives, support growth, and inspire change in ways that are deeply personal. By choosing not to center their lives around visibility, they preserve the authenticity of their actions. Nothing they do is for show, and that's exactly why it matters. Their impact is not diluted by the need for recognition. It remains pure, consistent, and real, reaching people on a level that goes far beyond what can be captured or displayed. Publicly, if you're someone who feels deeply but chooses not to share everything online, there is nothing wrong with you. In fact, you're operating on a higher level of awareness. You're not missing out, you're protecting something sacred. In a world that constantly says show more, your quiet strength says I am enough, even unseen.